Hey, it's Schema K, and we just got a mid-season trailer from Comic-Con, and it has everything I want and more. We've got Uber and Lagertha and Ivar and Björn. Everything we wanted, except for the actual series itself, is right here. More footage, more narration, more plot points, everything. Let's dive right into it and see all the shit they've got coming for us in this next half season of Season 5.
These are days for rejoicing, Ancient One.
People of Kattegat! I am Ivar the Boneless! I'll hail your new king!
Everything is becoming darker. We shall all of us go into the dark.
Uber down, Lagertha down, Björn shattered, Floki crying, and that's just in the first 20 seconds. Okay, so first off, it's clear that history is going for a much darker half season. Though we do get more context for these clips later on and make them not as dark as they seem here, we also notice that the Seer, the Ancient One, is getting really old and dying even more this season, so he's going to be killed off before the end, probably. And that could be a really good place where we've theorized Floki could assimilate back into Kattegat.
After the defeat, Lagertha, Uber, Björn left Kattegat in a hurry.
We were hunting them. They escaped.
So the narration here probably is Vixit describing this entire scene and what happened to Rollo when he arrives late. And the scene we get of Björn kind of breaking into Kattegat and taking out people isn't them probably escaping, it's more like him returning later on in the season to try and take Kattegat, because we get a lot more of that further on in this trailer.
Why would I betray you?
Because you are back in England.
I agreed to give you refuge here if you were willing to fight with us against the armies of your countrymen. The sons of King Ragnar Lothbrok. On our side, prepared to fight for us.
Alright, so this is a huge shift. We knew Hickman was going to escape and get back to England and fight there, but now we know Björn, Uber, Lagertha, all of them have escaped there as well. Clearly when they arrived, Hickman would have shielded them and gave them like political asylum and brought them in front of Alfred, who was like, it's my lucky day. A whole bunch of Viking warriors that can fight for me? Yes, please. Many kings in the past would have totally turned down these Viking forces because they're not thinking as strategic as Alfred is. Then we get this battle we've been teased for so long now in a little bit more detail. We see Harold on the other side with the fire to his back, kind of boxed in a C shape that looks like it's a trap he fell into. So either this is the first strategic win on Alfred's behalf and maybe he takes out Harold's part of the army with this, or it's 2 levels deep of a trap and Ivar has made this like C himself and made it seem like an accident in quotation marks and put Harold in the middle of this bait pretty much. So Hickman sweeps in with his forces, thinking they got this really easy pin target. Then Ivar actually pin cushions them between 2 forces, and they're stuck in behind as well. Either way, shit is going down.
Be very careful what you say about me, Vitzer.
Why? Will you kill me next?
I don't belong here. I want to take Kattegat back from Ivar.
You will never overcome Kattegat.
I'm going to kill him.
Are we afraid to die? Not me!
Vixit, my boy, you're switching sides. Clearly this season we're going to get a lot more on Vixit's conflict that's been brewing with Ivar, as clearly he's getting more and more brutal, hanging people up in the streets, and getting jealous over Vixit being with women. On my podcast with Zora Hype, really awesome, you should check out this channel, we were talking about how Ivar's getting more and more paranoid, and we'll get to this point where he pushes away everyone he sees as a threat from him, as he feels like he can trust no one. And ironically, this will actually lead to people who would be, loyal and trustworthy, going away from him, and then joining Björn. Okay, so Björn quite clearly is dissatisfied with his fighting and working for Alfred, and it's more than likely he will leave and fight in Kattegat by himself. I have a feeling that he will leave Lagertha in England with Alfred and stuff like that. Maybe even Uber will stay there, but he will travel by himself with some forces back to Kattegat to try and take it. Now clearly Ivar's getting more and more prepared for such an attack. Not to mention the fact that he seems to be going through some pretty rough storms and could lose part of his fleet trying to get there in the first place. So let's see what could happen there.
Welcome home, guys! Welcome home!
Kattegat is bigger than ever with ginormous armies. Ivar has traps and men in the right places and things set up and huge defenses and very much confident with his ability to throw back Björn. Even with Vixit's help climbing the walls and fighting with him and all that, it could be a loss for Björn. Now it's possible with the timelining here, this is how I think it will play out. Björn will come back by himself, he'll attack Kattegat, fail, push back, take Vixit back to England with him, where Ivar will follow, and that's where all the England storyline fights out. So the more major of the battles where people are more likely to die in will be actually in England. But I can't say anything of this for sure, so it's going to be interesting to watch it.
King Alfred is in trouble. There are those who want to overthrow him.
I pray that none of you will betray me now.
So again, it seems like things we were talking about in our podcast are coming true with this kind of betrayal line with Alfred's brother, where he felt like he's been shafted from the throne and he was kind of pushed out by his mother, and Alfred doesn't have the full support of the court because, one, his mother has a bad reputation of being this kind of devious woman. He's seen as the kind of lesser child. His brother was more with the men fighting. He seemed like Aethelwulf's prime choice. So it looks like Lagertha, when she's staying behind and Björn's going to Kattegat, will help Ivar re-establish himself as a ruler. He will have to prove himself as a smart, capable ruler, someone like Egbert, so that his men will fully be behind him when they really need to. That's when Ivar comes across later on. Alright, let's talk about Ubbe and a few different shots we've seen of him getting beaten up and dying on the ground, and there's some attacking of Alfred here, and let's put this into a timeline. So they arrive and Alfred makes his offer. It probably gets more and more tense as Ubbe's not on board at all and he hates being with these English people. And then he lashes out and tries taking out Alfred. Alfred doesn't take this to heart. He tries to stay with Ubbe, connect with them, talk with them, and regains his trust. He explains the plight he's in as more and more lords are not backing him and he needs help. Maybe some kind of challenge is placed down because we see this kind of weird ceremony thing. These men with the weird kind of yellow stripes on their shields, they're not the same shape as Ivar's son ones, so they're probably different men, but they seem to be having some kind of ceremony or training or something. And it's my feeling, just speculating here, that this could be some kind of fight to the death, a challenge between two champions to decide over the throne of England. And this will come after Ubbe's been swayed onto the side. You can see him wearing the white kind of Christian clothes here, surrounded by these men either training or in the actual fight itself, and that's where we get the shots of him lying down almost dead. And this shot here is just slightly before that, or it's at a different point entirely when the actual fight goes down more officially. Again, while it's speculation, but because Ubbe is the most Ragnar-esque kind of character in my eyes, it would be really cool to see Alfred and him get along, to bond, for Ubbe to save his throne and, legitimize his rule. It would be a really cool way for them to connect and bring their forces together. Tell me what you guys think in the comments about this kind of Ubbe, joining with Alfred or fighting him or trying to kill him or what.
You can't do this. Don't you prove to me.
Brother will fight against brother. The world will be wrecked.
So the storyline of love between Lagertha and him is going to keep growing apparently, which is going to be really hard for him in his homeland because he's technically a priest, even though he's been a bit devious on the side, he technically is a priest and he has to hide that more in this actual homeland. And that could lead to quite a lot of crazy things, like maybe he's stabbing some kind of priest that saw him or something. I don't know, but murders involve pain, violence, a lot.
Gods are not here! They're not here!
Damn. Okay, so Iceland, and then we'll talk about those little shots there. So there's way more fighting happening in Iceland. Shit is going to get so much worse than it was last season. We're going to have dead bodies buried in the ground. We're going to have people dying and fighting in the streets or, rocks. Floki's going to get more broken down and more crazy. And then he's going to come to the realization that this land is not the land of the gods. And that actually he will think that there's no gods there at all. That's godless land. Now, speculation again, this could be the driver that brings him back to Kattegat to replace the Seer, which is something that we saw foreshadowed quite a lot of the last couple of seasons, actually, and I want to see happen a lot. So, if things ramp up in Iceland, it gets more and more brutal there, more and more deaths, blood feuds going out of control, Floki breaks down, heads back to Kattegat. Then we see Lagertha fighting, Ivar fighting, Björn fighting, someone getting dragged off or something, people dying everywhere on the ground, flames, possibly Hickman getting choked out, and complete, utter mayhem. Clearly, Vikings is going to go all out on this season. We're going to get battle after battle and death and conflict in a dark as fuck storyline. So it's time to get hyped.
Why are you here now in person?
Because I miss the old place.
Thank you guys for watching. I want to hear everything you think about this trailer in the comment section below. For our live streams, we'll cover tons of your questions and stuff, because this is going to have so much awesome material to get us all the way to that release date of the 28th of November. Hell yeah.